1, 2, 3, 4!
Keep going.
Alright, so before I get into the details of how this bumper fits on a 4th Gen 4runner, I'd like to go over the hilarious scandal of how this bumper was first premiered on Tacoma World. The thread that this bumper premiered in blew up back in 2016. Seemingly enough, it started off as a normal thread with an excited Tacoma owner talking about how he found a super cheap bumper on eBay. And honestly, nobody really thought much of it. The flaming ensued, it's probably 1/8 inch steel, it's probably crap, it's probably a scam. All those things that you would expect from Tacoma World were posted. The other thing that was pointed out was that the bumper was an exact copy or knockoff of the All Pro bumper that All Pro made. All Pro used to be in California, but they moved out and are now located in Montana. And I'm guessing they're really happy to be outside of California. So the OP, or the original poster, decided that he was going to bite the bullet for the whole team and buy this bumper off of eBay. And he even talked about how their customer service was great and that they answered the phone immediately and assured everybody that the bumper was a real deal. So finally, after all this speculation, Cole responds that he finally received the bumper. Hooray! Except he made one big mistake. He didn't post pictures. He said he was gonna be gone for the weekend and would post pics after. I mean, who does that? Pretty much everybody on the thread was pissed off, like, you received the bumper, but you're not gonna post pictures? What's wrong with you? Who is this guy? What's going on? Well, I think that was his mistake. If he wouldn't have done that, everything would have been fine. But since he didn't post pics, people started looking into this guy. Somebody looked up his username on Tacoma World and found a post of him saying that he already owned an All Pro bumper and a rear bumper. So why would he go and buy this eBay bumper if he already had the real deal? That doesn't make any sense. And then more people looked into it and saw that he had a white Tacoma just like in the eBay photos. And if you look closely at the license plate numbers, even though it was blurred out, you can see that it starts with a 7 and ends with a 7. I mean, that's pretty close of a coincidence. And then somebody else pointed out that if you looked at the stock eBay pictures and you really zoomed into the front bumper, it really looks like all they did was Photoshop the All Pro logo out of this bumper. There's something going on in the middle of that bumper. Now to add to this, but somebody found a Wrangler for sale with DV8 parts on it, and guess what? The screen name of the user that posted that ad matches the screen name of the OP. What the hell? Smoking gun, the most hilarious thing I've seen. Somebody posts a picture of the Tacoma and a picture of the DV8 Jeep and points out that it's the same trees in the background. I mean, come on, there are some crazy detectives here on Tacoma World. It's hilarious that somebody could even notice that those trees in the background are the same. It's not even posted in the same spot, but it's definitely in the same area. And the more and more people looked into it, the more and more it looked like this guy Cole actually worked for DV8. And every single time Cole replied, his replies were very lame and never even addressed the actual issues. So this Tacoma World user finally summed up the similarities between Cole's Tacoma and the Tacoma on the eBay ad. They were both white, they were both dual cad short beds, they both had Bilstein shocks, and they both had the same tires. Now that's not really out of the ordinary, those are very typical mods, the most popular mods that people put on their Tacomas, so even still, there's still a doubt this guy may or may not be the same guy that works for DV8. Finally, someone asked him, so you're not the Cole McMath from DV8? Because there was a Cole McMath from DV8. There's even an email address that goes to Cole McMath from DV8. This Cole replies, no, my name is Lambert, Cole Lambert. Well, I guess if he's not Cole McMath, he's Cole Lambert. It's just a coincidence, and there's no way it's the same person. And if you're still not convinced that this Cole that posted this eBay bumper is not the same Cole that works at DV8, this guy right here is the real MVP. Turns out, Cole McMath is Cole Lambert McMath. So on page 201, Tracy from All Pro Offroad responded and confirmed that Cole McMath was definitely a previous customer of theirs, and after asking some of their colleagues, they learned that they were not the only ones that were knocked off and copied. Nowadays, there are plenty of US companies that have their products manufactured overseas in order to provide their customers with a lower and more attainable price. But the real problem here is DV8 blatantly ripped off and copied All Pro's bumper. And honestly, there's so much money in litigation that All Pro will probably never pursue the fact that they got copied. The other problem here is Cole tried to pretend that he found this super cheap bumper online when all along he was the one that was selling them. There's already over 300 pages on this thread. But what's funny is if you remember, on page 20, somebody theorized crazy theory that maybe this guy bought an All Pro bumper, copied it, and ordered a batch from China. No one really took note of that back then, but it was exactly true. Aliens made the bumper and are selling it to us. Wow. Alright, now on to the installation. I know this is what you guys have been waiting for. For the most part, the bumper bolts on, but you do need something to cut into the metal because, well, China put the hole for the AC line clearance on the wrong side. I just took a piece of cardboard, matched up the mount on the vehicle, folded it at a 90-degree angle, and then placed that onto the metal of the bumper to mark off where I needed to cut. And that seemed to work pretty well for me. The whole top piece of the bumper, from that point on after you cut that piece out, is completely bolt-on. It makes it very easy to install. Most people will say that you don't need the lower piece and they've ran the top of the bumper perfectly fine with no issues. I definitely believe what they say, but if you look at the other bumpers that are manufactured here in the US, you'll see that they don't just tag the bumper onto the front of the frame horns. There's usually another mounting point further down the rail in order to spread the load when being pulled. I believe that the best example of this is from Demello Offroad. As you can see, they have two mounting points on the side of the frame rail. On top of that, they clamp around the frame horn instead of just bolting to it. The eBay bumper lacks that feature. Even if you do go through all the work of getting the lower support bracket to bolt on, it doesn't bolt onto the frame until further back on the sway bar mount. So even still, that does not add the same frame reinforcement that the other bumpers do. I went ahead and went through the work of mounting it up anyway, because I wanted the skid plate protection underneath. As you can see from this side view, the radiator core support is located differently on a 4runner than a Tacoma. So I cut that angled piece back, hammered it flat, and boxed it in to reinforce this skid plate. As for the sway bar mounting location, the front bolt needs a new hole. For me, the back hole did not line up at all, and the bolt was barely hanging on to the back of the plate. But that was good enough for me. This is also a problem on the Tacoma and not just the 4runner. You also have to cut the body mount bolt to clear the bracket. If you're bolting on the Harbor Freight 12,000-pound winch like I did, or most likely for any 12,000-pound winch, there are two things that you need to do. First, the bolt holes do line up with the winch. However, if you don't relocate the holes, the winch will hit the AC line. You need to drill new holes about an inch forward or even slot the existing holes. Don't worry, you have plenty of room to move forward. The other thing I noticed is when you bolt the fair lead on, the holes need to be slightly bigger. That's not hard. However, I did notice that this squared edge right here was a little bit too close, as the fair lead is kind of off center. So I decided to grind that down so the synthetic line wouldn't catch on any sharp edges and wear down over time. After you do those two things, the winch and the bumper are all bolt-on. I know, they're not exactly bolt-on, but they're pretty close. Am I happy with the bumper? Yes, I am. Is it the best bumper? No, by far it is not the best bumper. As you can see, the lines don't line up with the lower part of the headlights on the 4runner, and it does look like it's kind of bent up. If I didn't have such a tight budget on this 4runner, I'd definitely go with the Demello bumper. It looks good, and it mounts the best as well. However, it's also over twice the price. So for the winch and the bumper together, for the price I paid, I'm pretty happy. Functionally, it works. Thanks for watching, guys. The video came out a little bit later than I was hoping for, but a lot went into putting this all together, and I really appreciate all of you that watch. I'll see you on the trails.